Buddhist monasteries are as widespread and as diverse as the Buddhist religion itself. However, they share a common lineage and perhaps even a model that they are built upon. One of the greatest and most significant monasteries in Buddhism is located in the northern Indian province of Bihar. It is known throughout the world as Nalanda. I will briefly address the origins of the Buddhist monastery and then focus on the physical structure and historical significance of this great Buddhist institution. In the time of Buddha's enlightening, many monks were ordained and would wander throughout the respective areas of India, collecting alms and living on what people would put in their bowls. During India's rainy season, however, they would seek shelter. Buddha deemed that during this monsoon season, the monks should go to a retreat that served both a group and a cooperative purpose instead of wandering for alms. This retreat became known as the rain retreat or Vasavasa and became the roots that Buddhist monasteries or vihara would grow from. Two types of monasteries developed from the Vasavasa, classified by their location. The Avasa was located in the countryside and was rather isolated from the surrounding towns and villages. It received no outside help from the villages and was temporary, disbanding after the rainy season was over. The other monastery is called an arama and was located in a more civilized or metropolitan locale. These were more permanent, as evidenced by the walls that were often found surrounding the compounds. Due to their permanence and urban location, the monasteries grew in occupancy and often found it necessary to expand in both overall size and the capacity and complexity of their infrastructure. These are also considered the evolutionary forerunners of the major Buddhist monasteries to be mentioned later. Dialogues were held in open parts of these aramas and were attended by both scholars and local citizens alike. As attendance at these events grew, it facilitated the need for an assembly hall, which developed into the Upasana Sala, or common meeting hall, where lectures and other Buddhist religious functions were held. Three large influential monasteries grew from these roots. All were closely located to each other in India's northern province of Bihar. The northernmost was Vikramshila, located on the banks of the Ganges River near the Antichak village. It was a major center of Buddhist learning that began to equal Nalanda and even shared some similar architectural and structural features with Nalanda. One of the most influential scholars from this monastery, Atisha, is known for bringing Buddhism to Tibet, and his name is still highly regarded in that country. Vikramshila was wiped out by the Turkish Muslim invaders that came through India in the mid-13th century AD. The second of the three great Indian Buddhist monasteries, Odantapura, was located in Magadha, 6 miles away from Nalanda. There is not much known about it, even though it is very near to the site of the heavily excavated ruins of Nalanda. It too was leveled by the Muslim invaders at the end of the 12th century AD. The third and largest, most complex of the monasteries and universities is Nalanda. This monastery developed a legendary, almost mythical status over time. Like the other examples mentioned, Nalanda was demolished by the Muslim invaders around 1193 AD. However, after much searching and excavation, it is found to be one of the most intact and therefore one of the most documented historical Buddhist monasteries. Nalanda's size was enormous, especially when compared to structures, cities, and compounds built during that same period. The overall exposed area is currently over 150,000 square meters. This is the result of 20 years of excavation, and according to some scholars, this is only a partial estimate of the overall size of this campus. It is thought that 90% of the grounds have yet to be dug up. The main gate and connected access road was on the north side of the campus and originated from the northern village of Baragaon. 11 monasteries have been found on the east side of the complex, arranged in a row from north to south. 8 of them are larger than the others and face west toward a row of temples. The 3 smaller monasteries face north towards their larger counterparts. 3 libraries have been noted on the grounds, one of which is measured to be about 9 stories tall. 4 very large temples have been found on the west side of the complex, running in a line from north to south, and will be discussed in further detail. The monasteries at Nalanda were multifunctional buildings. They served as both colleges for the education of those who came to study Buddhism and also as the students' resting place, much like a Buddhist version of a boarding school, minus the bank-breaking tuition. The main monastery is at the very south of the campus and is believed to be the earliest monastery built on the site. It was extremely large for its time and was a rectangle measuring 205 feet by 168 feet and is at least 2 stories tall, with rooms on all 4 sides of the building. Rooms that house the various members on campus line the 4 outer walls of the building on both floors, with a courtyard located in the center of the building. The first and second floor rooms were identical in size and were about 10 feet by 10 feet square. The only difference between rooms on the 2 floors is that upper floor rooms have 2 cutouts in the walls about 7 feet in length that are thought to have been for beds. Walls in the monastery were built a full 6 feet thick to insulate the occupants from climatic extremes of the region. The entrance into the monastery is from the west, and facing that entrance on the opposite eastern wall is a shrine with a platform. It's been hypothesized that the platform was used for lectures and discussion. This layout was never changed during any of the multiple reconstructions that became necessary due to time, evolution of the Buddhist thought tradition, natural disasters, and invasions. This main monastery is also believed to be the most important building on the entire campus of Nalanda, as it housed any significant records pertaining to the site. Also supporting this fact is that all other monasteries throughout the grounds mimicked the layout of this original structure. After the monasteries were built, tunnels were constructed linking several of them together. It seems as if these tunnels were almost an afterthought due to the difference in the ways they were built. Alongside these monasteries are a multitude of temples. 14 have been fully excavated thus far. 2 out of those 14 have earned special attention as being more significant than the others on the grounds of Nalanda. All of the temples have been numbered by archaeologists. Temple number 3 is noted as facing toward the north and has also been deemed the primary Templar structure within the compound. It originally started off as a stupa, but was continuously built upon and expanded to the point of it evolving into a giant temple. During excavation, architectural evidence shows that this temple was actually rebuilt a total of 7 times. The 5th of these reconstructive iterations shows significant changes architecturally, in which the temple was given a, quote, 4-corner tower with a sanctum sanctorum in the middle, end quote. The second distinctive temple is labeled Temple number 12. It has its own architectural distinction on Nalanda. The temple has 4 smaller shrines on each corner of the structure, which is raised extensively and is only reachable by stairs on the east. The peculiarity in this temple goes further in that it seems to closely mimic temples on 3 other sites throughout India, which were all constructed during different time periods. A variety of materials were used all throughout the structure, from terracotta to stucco to bronze. This is significant in the fact it shows an evolution of materials in the architecture over time and the ability of the monks to adapt to materials given to them to work with. More temples, aside from the 14 that have already been numbered, have begun to be excavated. Early indications in the excavating processes show these newly found structures to be larger than any others found throughout Nalanda to this date. While many materials can be found used in the buildings throughout the grounds, there is one that is noticeably the most common. The vast majority of buildings at Nalanda are constructed of a type of red mud brick similar in color to terracotta. Many of the buildings also have wood door frames molded into these bricks. Structures that were built during the first iteration of Nalanda were accented with stucco, as it was cheap, readily available, and the reputation of the monastery, and therefore its bankroll, was just being founded. During later years, as the scholastic reputation flourished and economic influence strengthened, bronze spires and accents were added to some of the structures. Buddhist and Brahmin sculptures are found throughout the campus and surrounding geographical area. Analysis by scholars and archaeologists states that these sculptures support the idea that Nalanda was primarily a Mahayana school of Buddhism. As time progressed and the monastery's reputation and prosperity swelled, so did its status as a center for art, especially sculpture. Also, with this rise in importance came an upgrade in the materials utilized in construction and artistic endeavors. Stone sculptures were very prominent at Nalanda, varying in size, theme, and the type of stone that was used. They provide a timeline of Buddhism over the ages, with some depicting Buddha, Nagarjuna, and Bodhisattvas. Later works depict deities from the tantric schools of thought. Stucco was used in the large majority of the very early works found at the monastery. It was cheap and easily affordable, and the tools used to shape it were often right at hand. These early stucco works were predominantly Buddhist in theme, as they corresponded with the dominance of Buddhism in the region. Sandstone was used more than stucco, as the stucco was structurally weaker and tended to shatter during the creative processes. This fact is upheld by the findings of very few wholly intact works of stucco within the ruins of Nalanda. Limestone was plentiful and used for larger works, while marble and a physically softer limestone were used for much smaller, diminutive pieces of sculpture. While Nalanda is mainly thought of as a Buddhist sanctuary and center for education, both Buddhist and Brahmin sculptures are found throughout the excavation site. Towards the end of this monastery's existence and the decline of Buddhism in India, the clash between the scholars and